seen where God has brought you from. You don't really understand it. They don't know your story.
You don't know my story.
You don't know
The things.
You don't know the things that I've come through.
You cannot imagine.
Cannot imagine
Pain, the trial.
the pain, the trials I've had to get.
You don't know.
You don't know my story. You don't know the days.
I was at my lowest.
Cannot
imagine.
the strongholds and the walls that stand.
But God has been faithful.
God has been faithful to me.
He promised.
Promised he would never leave.
My story.
Proves that God can use me.
Deliverance is.
This is my testimony.
You don't know.
My story.
It would blow your
That's the
mind.
key. They don't know.
My story.
Story. Say it, LaJune.
You don't know my story. The anguish and the guilt that consume me. Grateful I can tell it. For no more shall the shackles condemn me. You don't know my story.
You just don't know.
For if you did, you would lift up your hands. So just let me tell you, by faith you may as well break out and dance.
I love this about God because even though I'm not perfect,
He would never leave.
My story
Proves that God can use me.
in my
and
deliverance,
deliverance is.
what I want to share is my testimony.
You don't know
Somebody needs to know my story.
it would blow your mind.
Can I get a witness?
You don't know
Story.
My story.
my story.
It is through my testimony that I overcome.
And the blood you shed delivered
I've been delivered. I've been set free. And now I have a testimony. God's favor. Oh, love. Oh, that's right. Say it, LaJune. God, you never leave me. Listen, I want you to know that.
It is a super Saturday. Welcome to Dear Life After. As the song says, you don't know my story. How many of you people can't even imagine your story, what he's brought you through? Well, on today, we're going to kind of talk about that. We're going to dig into it. I'm going to give you the scoop on my dear life after. I'm going to kind of tell you where Dear Life After birthed for me, how this came about, and why we're here on today, and why we'll be here on every Saturday. So I hope you got your water, you got your cup of tea. I don't know, is it too late for you to have some coffee? Whatever it is that you need, so that you can just sit back and so that you can get the scoop on Dear Life After on today. So I just kind of want to tell you where this arrived for me. God gave this to me when I was on a journey. So Dear Life After was birthed to be able to encourage others that there is a dear life after. So often we go through life, we have trials and tribulations, things happen and occur in our life. And so we experience some type of circumstance. So You might have, as myself, dear life after prison. There's dear life after divorce. There's dear life after addiction. There's dear life after molestation. There's dear life after trauma. There's just dear life after for everyone. So those are just a few circumstances in regards to that people experience in their life. And when you experience those things, sometimes you're distraught, downtrodden, and you feel like you can't go on. You can't move. You can't pivot from where you are. You're stuck. My purpose is to come here and to encourage you that there is life after all of those things. So, whatever it is that you've experienced, there is no reason to feel stuck because there is hope. So, if you know Him, you know that there is hope. So, if you believe in God, then you know that there is hope. And so that's why I'm here to encourage you to know that there's hope. That He promised us in His word in Jeremiah 29:11-13. He tells us, "For I know the plans I have for you, to prosper you, declares the Lord, and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." He says, "Then you will call on me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart." So, regardless of whatever the circumstance, He says that He has plans for you, for hope and a future, to prosper you. When you come to Him and pray, He says that He's going to listen. So that means that He's going to hear what you're saying. So God just talks about letting you know that whatever you endure, there's hope. So we have some questions that people have posed to me in regards to this journey of mine on the Dear Life After. So we're just going to kind of jump on to it. Today it's just going to be me, but upcoming we will have guests. And if you know of someone that you would like to hear their story, then please email us at dearlifeafter@gmail.com. So we're going to kind of go ahead and dig in. So I was asked the question, so what is my dear life after? So today we'll talk about my dear life after federal prison. So on my journey, I've served time for federal prison. And most people know that once you are a convicted felon, that life has changed. Things are not the same for you. Why aren't they the same? Because society has now labeled you. But are you going to let that hinder you? Are you going to let that stop you and just be right there and not move because society has labeled you? I was telling another friend, I was telling her that what happens is you feel stuck. It's kind of like looking in the mirror. We get stuck because it's our past. So we feel like we're not worthy. We feel like, okay, well, they're going to hold that against me. And they just might. I'm not going to tell you that man isn't going to hold that against you because it happens. When you go to get that job, you fill out that application and it has that question on there. Have you ever been convicted of a felony? And sometimes at that moment, your heart drops because not only do you want this job, you probably need the job. But we have to know that we cannot let what we have endured hold us hostage. So as you sit there, it's kind of like when you're driving down the street, you have a rearview mirror in your car. And that rearview mirror gives you the ability to see what's behind you so that you can know if you can change lanes in the car, correct? But it gives you the ability to be able to see what's behind you. And that's how we have to do with our past. It's behind us. So it's not that it's gone anywhere per se, but it's behind us. So you have the ability to be able to change lanes and move forward and not let it keep you there. You have to move on. just like in the car. The rearview mirror, you look in it, okay, it's clear. Or I can move, I can make a move now, I can change lanes because everything else is behind me. And that's how we have to do with our past and knowing that we can move on. So, how did my journey affect relationships? Is one of the other questions that I was posed. Well, for me, it strengthened lots of relationships. There are some relationships that were strengthened in regards to my journey because it was a bond that was made with people. It was like it was at this point, it was different because they were there. Not that they could necessarily understand what I was going through at the time. However, they knew that at that time is when I needed them most, is when I needed the love and support the most. Is that always going to be the situation? No, it's not. Because some relationships will fall off. When you go through things in life, some relationships will change, not for the best, or in our eyes, maybe not for the best. But knowing that sometimes when those relationships fall off, that we have to learn that some things, even relationships, are for a season. So we have to accept them for what they are at that time. So we just be grateful for the season and the memories that we have with those people and knowing that everything won't last forever. So I've been asked, well, what keeps you motivated? What kept you going? And ask yourself, when you're going through things, what keeps you motivated? What keeps you going? So if you're dealing with a situation with you've come out of a divorce or you've come out of uh, being raped, uh, you've come out of some problems with your children, what keeps you motivated? So the thing that keeps me motivated the most is my relationship with God. That's what keeps me motivated. That is my why, because there is hope. Because I know that I believe in Him, there is hope for whatever it is. So no matter what it looks like to me with my natural eye, I know that there's hope, that there is going to be a rainbow, that it will storm, but yet the sun will shine. And so that's what keeps me motivated. And that's what you kind of have to ask yourself. Where are you in life? Where are you in your relationship with Him? Like any other relationship, when you're dating someone, you get all excited when it's time to see them and spend time with them. And that's what grows relationships, is spending time and making time for the things that mean something to us in life. Is that what we're doing with our relationship with Him? Are we making time? Are we spending quality time with Him? Ask yourself. As they say, some things that make you go, Those are just some of the questions and some of the things that I want to put on your mind on today. So it also, somebody asked me, what would I tell someone who's experiencing believing in that they can move forward from their relationship, believing that they have a life after their situation or their circumstance? For me, I would tell them, first of all, why don't you believe? That would be the question. What is making you not believe in yourself? And that's what we have to ask ourselves. Why do we believe that we're not able to move forward? Why do we believe that we're not worthy? Is it because we're really not trusting in what He has told us? That's what we have to really dig deep into ourselves and ask ourselves. For me, prison changed me in the sense that I no longer make the same decisions. I no longer have the same thought process. I no longer have the same outlook on life. Because going to prison, I realized that what's most important, and that is my relationship with Him. That it's most important that I do what is pleasing to Him. Going to prison, I learned to say no. And so often um, we're caught up in not being able to say no in our lives, and that gets us in certain circumstances, in certain situations. We have to learn to accept responsibility for our actions. That is one of the most important things that I've learned in my journey with prison, is that we have to learn to accept responsibilities for our actions. That is first and foremost. So for me, I have to be able to say, hey, let's stay focused and not lose hope. I lost my freedom from the world, so to speak, but I was still free, because I wasn't free in the sense of that I could leave and go home, but I was free in my mind because I was at peace. I was at peace because I knew that there was hope. I knew that God was going to sustain me through my journey. And that is what gave me peace that surpassed all understanding. Um, I so often I tell people when we talk about my journey is that I was afforded the luxury of going to prison. And people look at me and they think that is the strangest thing. But prison was life changing for me, because it granted me the ability to be able to deal with my issues, to deal with, things from childhood trauma and things that I probably never would have dealt with had God not said, hey, I'm gonna sit you down. So it was a blessing in my life, really, to go to prison, because I was able to deal with those things, and I didn't have to worry about the ugly process, so to speak, because I was in prison. So those people didn't know me from Adam, so it really didn't make a difference, so to speak. But and this is what kind of keeps us when we're in the free world, so to speak, and not dealing with our issues, is because the process of dealing with our issues is an ugly process, and nobody wants to do the work because it's ugly. It's ugly. It's hurtful. You go through some things. There are going to be some days that you're going to be crying. You don't know if you want to cry, scream, hit the wall, or all three. However, you have to go through the process. You have to heal and deal with those issues that you have within, so that you can be the person that God has created you to be, so that you can live out and walk in that purpose. It's not easy. It's painful. But there is purpose in that pain, because on the other side, there is dear life after, on the other side of the pain that we go through. So you might not have the luxury of being in prison to deal with your circumstances. However, deal with them. Seek a licensed counselor and deal with them, because they will help guide you through the process in knowing what triggers you, what's going to help you, what you need to do, what steps you need to do, so that you can be healed and healthy, so that you can love you and know, and so that you can see that person, so that you can kind of see how God sees you. Because he sees us in a different way than we see ourselves. And we want to be able to experience that love that he has. We want to be able to share that love with others. We want to be able to walk in our purpose, whatever it is that God has given you, whatever that gift is. You want to be able to share that with others. And they can see him, so that they can see him in you. It's nothing like letting him be able to see his light shine through in your life. Those are things that I want to encourage you on. If you never ever experience that unconditional love, because God loves you more than anybody, more than your mother, more than your father, more than your sisters and your brothers. And there's nothing wrong with that, because we all want to be loved by our families. We want our mothers and our fathers, and we want to be able to experience that. And those things are important. But also sometimes those are the reasons that we're having issues, is because we don't have those relationships with our parents or our siblings that our heart desires. But we want to have healthy relationships. We want to be healthy. And there is a difference in the type of relationship. And so we have to know the difference so that we can experience those. So I just want to encourage you on today to reflect upon God loving you, and that he loves you unconditionally. Just please know that there's no love like the love of Jesus at all. Because there would not be a dear life after if it was not for the things that he's done in my life. So regardless of the things that I've endured in my life, my prison, heartbreak, molestation, I still know that he loves me. Because regardless of going through those things, he brought me through those things. He was with me through them. Because what I do know is the things that I've endured, that somebody would have lost their mind. Somebody wouldn't have made it. But because I've known him, I was introduced to him at a young age. So I've seen him work. I've seen him in the lives of my mother and my father and my grandmother and my aunts and uncles and cousins. I've seen what God can do. So not just in my life, but knowing what he can do for me, he can do for you. He loves you just the same. He doesn't hold your past. He doesn't hold that circumstance against you. He's still going to be there, no matter what it is. So don't think that because you made a bad decision that he's going to leave you. He's not going to. He's not a man to lie. He stands on his word. Stand on the promises that God has declared. He didn't just declare them for Roslyn. He declared them for you as well. You know, one of the things when I was in prison, you know, there were so many of the young ladies that didn't have a support system. And so that was something hard for me to relate to because that's not something that I've experienced in my life, not having a support system. Because let me tell you, God gave me some people that have been cheerleaders in my life. And when I tell you that it is such a blessing, I cannot ever thank some of the people that are my support system enough. I could be a billionaire and wouldn't be able to thank them enough for the love and support that they've given me. Uh, Listen, let me tell you, everybody, if you don't have you and Aunt Betty and Uncle Lonnie, let's just say uh, it's a blessing to have them. And it's not something that I take lightly or take for granted because I know that it's a blessing. And God knew before when I was in the womb that I was going to need them. And I'm grateful. But for the people who did not have an Aunt Betty and an Uncle Lonnie, and they felt alone, it wasn't as easy to encourage them because I couldn't relate. But I could tell them and introduce them to God because He's always with you. So even when you can't call on that loved one, God is there. His presence is always there. And that's what everybody needs. Because people, family, friends, sisters, brothers, aunts, uncles, mamas, daddies, you know, sometimes when we've made bad decisions, that affects that relationship. And so sometimes people can't love us through that. But God loves us through all those bad decisions that we make. He's not going to hold it against you. He's going to be right there. He's going to be right there walking with you through those decisions that you've made. And He's going to remind you that He knows the plans that He has for you, regardless of that bad decision. I made lots of bad decisions in my life, things that I'm not proud of. But I'm grateful that God has kept me. And He is a keeper. Don't you ever doubt Him being a keeper, because He is. And yes, I'm asking, do I plan on doing a prison ministry for women? Part of the Dear Life After, is going to be a part of my nonprofit that will be doing ministry for women who are trying to reintegrate back into society, and they need help. They need help in knowing in regards to their credit. They need help in knowing in regards to making sure that they get the the mental help that they need in regards to some people need counseling. Everybody doesn't have a support system, so they're not going to be able to walk through being able to know mentally how it affects them. So that is going to be a part of that ministry that I'm going to be doing. And if you want to be a part of that, you email me and we will talk and get that going. But in the meantime, we got to pay the bills. So we're going to go to a commercial and we'll be right back.
Story Life Fellowship coming at you live. Listen, wanted to make this announcement to the folks. I need y'all to get this word out. I need you to respond to it as well. This is something that's very necessary in the season that we're in. Listen, on June 17th, Restore Life, we're going to host something that is very important to every young lady, I believe, over ages 10 and up. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be hosting what is called an assault and abuse prevention training class. Again, it is an assault abuse prevention training class. This is really going to be beneficial for those ladies who are going back off to college or going to college for the first time. But again, it's important for every woman because right now Texas is one of the most high trafficking states that there is. This training will teach you how to mentally prepare and physically be prepared to not only prevent, certain attacks from happening, but also help you escape those situations in a successful way. Listen, the response is already beginning to take part. So we're going to hold two classes. One is going to be, again, at 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., June 17th. The second class will start from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Both classes, June 17th, Restored Life Fellowship Church, DeSoto, Texas. The address is 209 Executive Way, DeSoto, 75115. But listen, space is limited, so I need you to register. You can go online at our site, restoredlfc.org. Just go ahead and scroll down. You can see a registration place right there. Go ahead and sign up. What's going to wind up happening is, depending on how many people sign up so fast, we're going to have a waiting list so we can have a different class. But also, if you're in a different city, if you're in a different state and that weekend doesn't work for you and you want this training for yourself, if you want this training for your organization or ministry, reach out to me throughout this message or however you want to, and we will bring it to where you are. This is a free training happening on the 17th, guys. Again, women, you need this training. It is assault and abuse prevention training. Guys, again, restorelfc.org. Hope to see you there. Have any questions, reach out. God bless you.
Okay, so we were talking about the prison ministry and my plans and what God has given me in regards to helping ladies who are reintegrating back into society. So if that's something that you want to volunteer with and assist with, you can email me at dearlifeafter@gmail.com. So we were also talking about support system, and I was thinking about my grandmother. My grandmother was a one-of-a-kind lady. And of course, she introduced us to God and the things, and knowing and watching her trust God. Growing up, watching her read her Bible every morning and every evening. And, even until, she was in her latter years and she wasn't able to get around as she could and losing her independence in that sense. But she never lost hope. She never lost hope. And she was a funny lady. I tell people all the time that Tyler Perry, Smedia, had nothing on my Media. I remember one time my aunt took her to the doctor, as she so often did. And they were talking to my grandmother about having a knee replacement. And so she let the doctor explain and go through all the things that he does, because he's the doctor. And so Aunt Betty says, well, Media, say something. And so she always, when she would be sitting there, she'd be rubbing on her knees. And she says, now, doctor, The good Lord made these knees, and I just don't think you can do any better than he did. So, in other words, hey, I'm not having no knee replacement. I'm going to keep these knees that God gave me. And if we all kind of looked at life in the sense of, I'm going to keep what God has given me and not let the world replace it with their stuff. Just think about that. I'm going to keep what God has given me because you can't do better than him. On that note, what we're going to do is I'm going to close out with a letter, with my Dear Life After letter. And knowing that I'm going to be looking forward to seeing you on next Saturday morning at 11 a.m. And also, I want to invite you to morning tea with Lonnie B, Monday through Thursday, 8 a.m. Central Standard Time, and Friday mornings at 8 a.m. Bible study with the Kusimos. So mark those things on your calendar for us. And I'm going to read you the letter that I have for Dear Life After as we close it out on today. Dear Life After, I've spent countless of nights dreaming of you and thinking about how life after would be. In my wildest dreams, I never could have imagined life as it is. I remember lying there in prison, reflecting over my life and the choices I had made, from losing people and things to reclaiming myself to healing and knowing who I am, learning my purpose and knowing who you called me to be. Dear Life After, thank you for the trials and tribulations. Persevering through them strengthened my faith. Had there not been a life before, I would not be living out the purpose that God has for me. There is life after prison. There is life after molestation. There is life after trauma. There is life after divorce. There is life after addiction. There is life after anything you endure. I held on to God's promise because there is life after. Life after, I know you are here to prosper me and give me hope, to encourage others along their journey. So life after, I embrace you. You've made me who I am today. Dear Life After, what do you hold for my heartbreak, pain, or good future and hope? Dear Life After, thank you for not judging me by my past. Dear Life After, thank you for being here, waiting for me. Thank you, dear Life After. Make it a great day on purpose.
I want you to know that.
Here's my story.
Life in favor. Thank you for bringing me out. You think you know, but let me tell it. Life in favor. God, thank you for your mercy. And you love me. Life in favor. Oh, how wondrous. God is my soul. Life in favor upon me. You wouldn't believe my real testimony. Can't imagine. Some people, they walked out on me and they gave up on me, said I wouldn't make it, but God brought me out. All the things I've done. If you only knew, you'd understand why I praise like this. Come